Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about, have you saved too much for retirement?
Yeah, there's a lot of numbers floating around out there that you need to save. 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, $500,000. What is the right number? How much do you actually need to save? It can be a very hard thing to determine for most people. So we're going to break that down for you today and help you decide what you're giving up when you try to save a higher amount and what you get by actually putting more time in and saving more money. So the first thing is that the best years of your life are going to be in your 50s and 60s. So those years that you spend accumulating a larger nest egg are going to be some of the best years that you're giving up to do so.
Yeah, I think this is something that a lot of people struggle with mentally because they are the best of years of your life, and you're thinking, well, I could put it into making a lot more money and, saving up a lot faster. But then the next thing you know, you're kind of in this cycle of, well, if that's the case, then I'll just keep doing it and going and going. And the next thing you know, you're 70 and you're still in that wheel saying, I'm still, making all this money. I'll just keep saving it and saving it. And then after that, it just starts to get a little bit more challenging to pull back, right?
Yeah, but you do maybe have $3 million. But you've then missed out on everything you ever wanted to do because your health has declined. You cannot travel as much. You're going to have regrets. So where is that sweet spot? That's what we're looking for. And for each person, this is going to be different based on your job, how much you like your job, how much money you have, and what kind of trade-offs you're willing to make. That's the big question here, is how much trade-off are you willing to have? Because you're really trading your time, these best years, for security. And the more you travel the world, the more you look at the world and you realize there's tons of options out there for me, the more that we think we're willing to trade off some of that security because we're willing to live and do this in a different way if we needed to. Now, it hasn't happened for us that we needed to make any changes, but we're willing to do that down the road.
Yeah, I think that that's not something that a lot of people, kind of push to the front, that thought process that, hey, I can come back and do this at another time. It's kind of like taking an adult gap year or 2 or 5 or 10. You can always come back.
So the sacrifices you'll be needing to make if you are willing to kind of retire early, do this at a much lower number, is you'll need to have a lower monthly budget. You will need to be living in cheaper places, and you'll need to streamline your spending. So those are things that are pretty easily done because you are younger, you are active, you are mobile. You can do all these things without a problem. And I do want to talk about that last one, streamlining your spending, because that is one of the big keys to all of this. And that is that the more money you make, and we've found this in our life, years that we've made a lot of money versus years that we've made not much money, we become, and most people also do become, very inefficient in their spending the more money you have. So you'll decide, you know what, we're going to take a longer vacation, we're going to get another car, we're going to buy a bigger TV, and these things really don't add a lot to your life. They just are bigger and better, but they cost a whole lot more. So I think that's one of the things that you really need to look at is, in your retirement, am I willing to not have a vacation house? Am I willing to just have one house? Are we willing to get by? There's 2 of us, neither of us are working. Are we willing to get by on one car and one set of car insurance? Or do we both need a car? And when you become more efficient in your spending and you cut those things down, it can shave years off the number of and the amount of money that you'll need to save to do this retirement.
Yeah, you let a lot of things kind of slip through the cracks. Like you were saying, you start paying for stuff and then you may stop using it, but you're still paying for it. And you don't even think about it because you're like, oh, it's only $20 a month or, $50 a month. And even in some cases, $100 a month. But if you start looking at where the money is going, you're basically giving a bunch of it away and not getting anything in return. And this is just really something that you have to focus on and really think about.
Yeah, most people that oversave eventually end up overspending because they oversave, they don't do what they want to do, and then they try to do it all at once, and it's a lot more expensive to do that. So they're not efficient in their money spending, and that is just a huge thing. So you do need to come up with a number that you'd be comfortable living at. So we sat down and came up with this number, and we said we'll be comfortable at $4,000 a month. And that was just a number that we came up with 6 years ago. We have really pretty much stayed at that every month for the last 6 years on an average basis per year. And it has not been a problem. I think that when we first started this, we weren't sure if we could do it, if we could live on that kind of money, but really we found no problem in doing so.
Yeah, in a lot of cases we come in even well under that, which is what helps the average overall, but it's just you find so many ways to be much more efficient with the way that you spend your money, that it just really adds so much, and it makes it so much easier in order to stay within that reduced budget then. So it isn't like, it's like a tight budget. It's just that it's an easier way to see the numbers and helps you really focus on reining in the spending.
Yeah, we've heard a lot of people that will come up and say, I have $2 million, but I'm afraid to retire. And really, if you have $2 million and you've invested that money well in the stock market and you're earning retirement dividends off of that, you could pretty easily be making $100,000 a year in dividends off of that, which is $8,000 a month. So then it just becomes a question of, can you live on $8,000? Can you live on even $6,000? Maybe you can live on $6,000, and then you can take the extra $2,000 and reinvest it. You don't have to live on everything. That's frankly what we're doing right now. We're making more than $4,000 a month. We're living on the $4,000, and whatever is the excess, we are reinvesting. And that is where the safety net comes in, is that when you decide to do this, no matter whatever number you come in at, if you stay below your means, you can still be building your nest egg while you retire early. So if you only have $2,000 budget, maybe you're bringing in $3,000, you're still putting $1,000 back in. We know people that are doing this on $1,000. We know people doing it on $2,000. We're doing it on $4,000. There's people doing it on $8,000. It just depends on where you're going to live and how you're going to live. We just met with a friend who was living in an apartment that's $125 a month, having the time of her life, and it's just an amazing thing.
Yeah, I think that's such a key thing of not spending everything that is coming in and using the rest to save it up. I think that's, even in life, that's where a lot of people get into trouble is, I got a raise. That means I can spend more money buying more stuff or doing more things. And that's the same thing that happens in retirement is you've got, more money coming, you've got more saved up than you needed, and then what are you going to do? Are you going to spend all of that just because you have that budget? No, if you can figure out a budget that you can be comfortable with, and we feel super comfortable at our 4,000, then you can take the rest of it and invest it instead of constantly splurging and spending and overspending on housing and all of the transportation and all of those things. There's so many things that you can do to keep that number below even what your budget is and still have a really fruitful and enjoyable life in retirement.
So for a lot of people, this will come down to their work situation and how happy they are at work. That is going to be a big question. There are people, you may be watching this right now and you are not happy at all at work, and this is something you're looking into. But there are those that are happy at work, or they think they're happy at work, and for them it's not an easy decision because they think, I could keep working, I like my job. And the thing that we would have you look into deeply for yourself is it really that you love your job, or do you love what you get out of your job? So for instance, a lot of people, what they get out of their job is that their job gives them a certain status, their job comes with certain relationships that they have, and it makes them feel productive. But they don't actually like the day-to-day getting up at 8 a.m., driving into work, and actually performing the tasks when no one is looking. So if that's the case, you can find things that will replace those relationships, that status, and that productivity with something else in retirement. But if you actually love the actual physical act of doing your actual job, that is going to be hard. I don't suspect there's a ton of people out there where that's the case, though. So really kind of take a look. Do you love what comes with your job, or do you love your actual job? Because there's a new concept out there for retirees that you don't have to stop making money once you're retired. And there are many ways that you can replace those things, that camaraderie, that status, that productivity, with other new opportunities. And that's frankly one thing we've done just with this YouTube channel.
Yeah, I think that's just something that, it's something that I struggled with. I couldn't figure out, like, oh, I really enjoy my job. But then when I came down and really thought about it, it was really the things that came with the job that I enjoyed more so than the job itself. And I think that at the end of the day, what we get out of our community, with YouTube world is huge, and it makes an enormous difference for us, not just financially, but again, with that camaraderie and with, just kind of being able to share with other people in the YouTube sphere.
Yeah, I have never in the last 6 years heard you say that you miss getting up at 6 a.m. to go to work. So there were things that you liked about your job, but you did not like your job. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make, because you can replace the part that you lost with something else. And that's why if you are going to be thinking about early retirement, we think it is just critical, if you have any desire to possibly do a YouTube channel down the road, start that now, dive in, get started. It is so valuable. In fact, we think most retirees should have a YouTube channel to either talk about something. It gives you so many things to kind of channel that boredom or loneliness, even lack of income. It scratches so many itches for the early retiree that it's just such a great thing to do.
It really is. And I think that a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to have to, videotape everything that I'm doing. Well, you don't have to do one on what you're doing. You don't have to do one on travel or your everyday adventures. You can do a YouTube channel on something you're an expert on. Whatever maybe your job was, something to do with that. There's so much that basically, anyone over 40 has quite a bit of knowledge. You've experienced a lot in this world. You've had, several jobs, and you've worked in several, sectors of businesses, and you have knowledge to share. And I think that that's what makes it so amazing, is that you don't have to do your everyday stuff. You could very easily do it on something that you're knowledgeable on, or something that you love or you're passionate about.
Yeah, and that's another reason why this isn't as cut and dried as it used to be, where before 20 years ago, you retired, you would never make another dollar, and then you would just had what you had, and you had to save it all up. You had to work till you were 75 to ensure that you would not run out of money. Nowadays, it's not that difficult to fall into things where you can make more money. For instance, we did retire early, quit both of our jobs, and started traveling the world. And we started doing this YouTube. And if you've been following this channel, the whole purpose of this channel has been to document that journey. We give you in our monthly update exactly how much money we're making on YouTube. And when we started, it was zero. And now we're making, on all of our channels combined, over $20,000 a month. Still spending that $4,000 and putting the rest into retirement savings. So not only if you retire early can you do it, you can actually boost your retirement by doing that. And so it's just something that we never thought possible. We want to share with people that there is another possibility. We have started a YouTube community now for members of our YouTube After 40 course, where we can help you, and other members of the community can help you, questions with editing and thumbnails and all that stuff. So check that out if you're interested. There is a link in the description. But this is going to be a highly personalized decision that only really you can figure out. And what we want to have you look at is, what are you leaving on the table if you work too long? Because I know for us, there are places that we have been now in our late 40s and early 50s that we could probably no longer do very, very soon.
Yeah, there's some, physically strenuous hikes and endeavors that we took on in our early to mid 40s when we retired to now. I look back, sometimes we look at the pictures or we go back and watch our old videos and, just kind of reminisce on the experience in certain places. And I'm like, oh man, that was so hard then. I can't imagine how much harder it would be now.
Yeah, it would be, and that is really the question. So for us, we decided many years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, when we decided to do this, that we were okay with the sacrifices we would have to make this work. And some people will not be okay with those sacrifices. Those being, you may not be able to live exactly where you want. You may not be able to have 2 or 3 cars. You may not be able to have a house and a vacation house. We were fine with all of that. And, those are the decisions. They're not easy decisions. We were both ready to leave work. I think we were pretty clearly, easily ready to do that. But that's what you've got to dive into. What are you getting for what you're giving up? Because you're giving up opportunity to do things that you may not be able to do later on.
Yeah, I think those are just, that kind of narrows it down to the things, you really just need to think about what are the things that you're missing out on that are sitting on the table there, and don't leave them there. Really think about it. And, like Rob said, it's highly personal, it's not for everybody, but just really think about it. And there's so many opportunities, and we share on the channel here so many different ways to be able to, of what retirement looks like. It's not just one path. There's so many different ones, and we've actually done a couple other videos talking about that as well here on the channel. But there's so many different things that you can do that there's just too many opportunities to not think about, just not to stop and actually think about it, to just keep going on that wheel and just stay in it until somebody says, okay, you can go. You really just have to think about it. And again, it's very personalized decision. Everyone is in a different situation, and you just have to make that decision for yourself. So the course is in the description. We do also have Retirement Travel Jumpstart course. We'll put the link for that also down in the description if you're interested in looking at what this would all look like. If you're interested in doing that, then you could take a look at that course as well. Guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.